Hello YouTube, Paternoster here, and today I am reviewing the Logitech G900 wireless gaming mouse. That's right, my friends. Finally, I have got my hands on this, and obviously after quite a substantial amount of time of using it, I can finally really talk about it. This $199 mouse is really something. So, let's look at it this way. This is the most expensive mouse you can pick up right now from Logitech. There is other expensive mouses from the Rat 8, I believe, which is around 300 Australian dollars. But this is the most expensive one from Logitech, so you'd expect it to be magnificent. And short story short, well, it is actually really good. But let me tell you what isn't good and what is. So first of all, looking at it, it does look pretty good. It's got nice sharp edges, very curvy on the back, and this is where it starts because you have to like the feeling of the mouse when you put your hand on it. Now this mouse works with any type of grip because it is fairly light and ambidextrous. So you can grab it like this, you can grab it with your palm, and what's the other one? The overgrip, which is alright. With the overgrip, however, you do have to remember there is an indent over here. Next thing is, it is obviously RGB, which is the whole big thing these days, but the RGB is only on the G logo, and I've got it to cycle colors. Not necessarily the biggest draw point of this mouse. The next thing I'm going to mention is the click wheel. This time, they have opted for an empty type of cartwheel inside, which also lessened the weight of the overall mouse, which is great. Now the spin of it hasn't been affected too much because the weight is still right around the edge, and it gives you that solid swing when you want to scroll down a huge I agree terms and conditions page that's recently popped up in a lot of games like Dark Souls 3. Next thing is obviously the click. You can click it on, and the clicky bit when you spin is actually really nice. Almost, well, pretty much the same as any other Logitech mouse, so nothing different in that regard. It has two more buttons here. One of them is to switch, well, actually tell you how much the battery is, which is the three lights right there. And the other one is to change the speed of the mouse, the DPI settings. On the sides, it has removable little, what would you call them? Replacement pads or neutral pads. Basically, you can put any buttons here, or you can put this neutral pad and you have no button. Because this is an ambidextrous mouse, you can have the buttons on either side. Fantastic! Finally, a good mouse that is ambidextrous for those folks who are on there using the left hand, of course. Now we've got finally the two buttons. These are the best buttons I have used. I have mentioned that the G302 that I had was the best buttons I've used. And I think they might have used the same buttons as they used in this one. It feels exactly the same. Also, it is not bending the plastic, which is good. So over time, it won't wear out. Not that many mouses do. You probably end up switching the mouse because of the pads, maybe quicker than you would be changing because of the click. But some have loosened up and over time broke. I'm hoping this one doesn't at $199. Next thing is the actual plug. Because this is the wireless mouse, which I'll get to in a minute, the plug itself is, it's a micro B. What I thought it would be great would be if they made it maybe a Type C, so you wouldn't have to switch it around and whatnot. I mean, it's still a bit annoying. It has these two little prongs that go into the gaps here, but it's not necessarily the best type of ingenuity, maybe. I don't know, just micro B, it's getting a bit old. Again, I'm coming back to the price, but for $199, I would have expected something a bit more interesting. Because this mouse is wireless. And to be honest, if you're running this wired, why did you buy this mouse? Or why would you want to buy this mouse? You are buying this mouse because it's wireless, and you know, or rather you've been marketed to, that the response rate is better than wired mouse. If you watched Linus's tech tip video about this mouse when one of the guys went out to Logitech and they showed all these demos about how fast the reaction is compared to other mouses, you would have maybe seen that this one was better than a wired mouse, and 1,000 times better than a wireless mouse. Now, what I'm going to mention is the Mamba. I had the Mamba 2014 edition. $120, I believe I paid. Absolutely atrocious wireless performance. I gave it back within 3 days or something like that. 4th day I gave it back. It was just like, I said, I couldn't deal with this. It was absolutely atrocious. So I was a bit wary about this one, but, you know, I can always return it. If it's terrible, I can always return it. So I took the plunge, and the wireless response rate is amazing. It is like on that bloody marketing video. It is great. I have noticed no difference between the wired mode and the wireless, and my receiver is actually further away. I cannot talk enough about how well the wireless works on this mouse, and it's one of those things. You have to take this mouse, you gotta use it for at least a couple days, because you will be like, whoa, I haven't noticed anything, and that's the beauty of it. The point is, you won't notice that it's a wireless mouse. So the best thing is, obviously, no wire, nothing to drag. The feet themselves do their job. They've got larger feet. We've got 2 around the optical sensor, which is also a really good sensor. The best sensor they have, really, the optical one. We've got 2 large pads on the side, big pad on the bottom, and big pad on the top, doing their jobs. Now, a comment about the pads they usually put in here. I've got a Logitech mouse pad, and the pads under here, I'd expect them not to get scratched so quickly on a surface that's for mouses, or Logitech mouses, but after a while, I mean after a week, they already look scratched, and you can see the indents. I do have a heavy hand when I put my mouse down, but it really shouldn't be doing that so soon. But, you know, maybe they'll send out replacement ones if you complain to Logitech and say, look, been using this mouse for 6 months and they're already like coming off, and I do recommend keeping the little surface clean. A little bit of sand, you know, we're in a sandy area here in Perth, WA, and a little bit of sand got in and scratched it. I mean, really, just one little bit of sand could potentially damage this $200 mouse. Finally, I have droned on about this wireless, but it is great. But finally, is it actually good to use? I mean, is it actually performing as well as it should? And the answer is yes. I have used this for both first-person shooters, MOBAs, and RPGs, for example, which I've been playing for a while now. Look, it is great. First-person shooters, fantastic. Response rate is insane. I don't know about competitive CSGO players. I'm not one myself, but at 99% sure that it would actually be good. And even though it's wireless, it would be great, and I haven't noticed it. I've been playing Battlefield 4 with this mouse, and it's been fan-bloody-tastic. I love it. I cannot take my hand off it. I come home and I just want to use the mouse. It's that good. MOBAs, actually I have to mention a little bit about this because the MOBA just didn't feel quite right. It's a really large mouse, and I find that I'm having to use my wrist a bit more than I should, that I had the G302, and almost I want to go back to the 302, but it's just wireless and it's so good, and the response rate is fantastic, but it is rather wide. Now, even though the size is quite large, it is actually really light. Like, you know, just kind of holding it here, and it doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel like there's a 10-ton battery, which is the next thing I'm going to mention, and that is the battery life. Now, they mentioned 32 hours without the RGB lights. With the RGB, it's about 16 hours. I haven't been able to test that because after 3-4 hours, I put it back on charge as I step away, so it's really no problem. But I have left it on all night, and it automatically turns off after not being used for a while. So hard to test unless you literally just go around spinning it. Probably turn it off in the software. I'm not going to talk about the software because everybody knows it. Remember to update it when you do get this mouse, otherwise you won't be able to use the features. You need to get the latest Logitech software. Now, the last thing that I'm really going to talk about is the price. I've mentioned it throughout the video that it's $199. And at $199, you have to ask yourself, is this mouse going to make me money? Well, it probably won't be unless you're some sort of designer or anything like that. But will you enjoy it? And will you regret spending $200 on a mouse? This is really, oh God, I can't fathom $200. You'll probably be insanely happy because it's so good at being wireless. That is the whole draw of this. The best wireless mouse I have ever used. And actually, I have to point out that my G502 was the most comfortable mouse I've ever used. This is now the most comfortable mouse I have ever used, and I'm giving it so much praise, so much little things about it that I love, and I guess the one thing that I can say that is I don't like about it is, it feels a little bit big in my hand. Like, when you put it like this, it feels like there's a lot of coverage on my palm to it, and, you know, after a long gaming session, might get a little bit sweaty. So, apart from that, guys, this is fantastic. I mean, geez, you cannot go wrong. Alright, guys, if you buy it, you won't go wrong. You won't be upset, you won't be disappointed, and you'll just be like, wow, this is amazing. If the price was a little bit lower, you'd be like, holy crap, I only paid 150 and this is amazing. At 200, you're like, yeah, I paid it. I expect it. And that is what this mouse is about. You pay a lot of money, you expect performance, comfort, and looks. It looks great. Guys, this has become a bit of a rant about this mouse, but I just really wanted to get out there how good the mouse is and hardly any drawbacks. I couldn't find any drawbacks, and I tried. I used it longer and longer to try and figure out if there's anything wrong with it, and I couldn't. And even though my review was delayed due to Australia getting these guys in very late than obviously America, I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know what you think. If you have one, let me know what you think. If you don't have one, well, tell me a reason why you haven't got one, or tell me a reason you are going to get one in the comments below. Thanks for joining me, Paternoster here, and I'll catch you next time.